But we'll let Donnie fangirl over his Steelers draft picks over there.
Yeah, so definitely one of the top drafts, I'll probably say the top in my personal opinion, but most people are going to say top 2 or 3 draft for sure. They went in with a idea of what they wanted, and it was basically linemen across the board. I even said they're going to pick linemen in the first 2 rounds. Obviously, it makes sense. So to start, you get Troy Fontenot dropping down to you all the way at 20. I mean, this guy, ranked 15th overall with a grade of 91, dropping that low. They're saying he wants to move. They're saying, like, Mel Kiper's like, oh, he can move into guard, but the Steelers are stand pack saying, no, he's going to be our tackle, which is great. They can finally get Dan Moore's stupid ass out of there, and I'm perfectly happy with that. And then, sure enough, round 2 comes back in. You grab Zach Frazier, West Virginia guy, 3-year starter. Actually, I think he was a 4-year starter. Yeah, 4-year starter, Guy literally broke his fucking leg, walked off the field in his last game. I mean, that's a tough son of a bitch right there. So, great with that. I like the Roman Wilson pick. Now, were there higher-ranked wide receivers? Yes. But he fit the bill because of what they're trying to do. He was at Michigan. He wasn't asked to catch for 1,000 yards. He was asked to catch balls when he needed to and then block his little ass off, which is what is probably going to be asked of him. So he definitely fits the bill of what Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin and the Steelers are wanting to do offensively.
Does he have a TikTok account?
Who knows? Maybe.
Or mental issues?
No, he's actually pretty solid.
Those come later. Those come later. You get one or the other.
It's one or the other.
And then I loved the Peyton Wilson pick. Like, now, do I understand, missing an ACL, blah, 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 you got the medical issue, but he plays lights out. He plays like everyone says, like, even Luke Kuechly said, that dude's me, just faster. And
he's the sideline linebacker.
Yeah, which is great, because that's always killed us, is the speed with those inside linebackers having to deal with running backs catching out of the backfield. He's going to be able to do it. If he stays healthy, he will be a starter as well. So, and then, in the 4th round, they grabbed Mason McCormick out of South Dakota State. This dude's just a mauler. He's a run-through-the-wall type of guy. Loved that pick, too, getting it so late. And you know what? It adds some depth. Will he start day 1 like all the others? No. They got Isaiah Samalu, who they signed from Philly last year. And they got James Daniels. He's still kind of on a contract. But I'll tell you what, those guys have to watch their backs. And at least you got some good rotation. The one pick I'm kind of up in arms about would probably be the Logan Lee pick, D-tackle. Yeah, we needed some depth behind Benton and Cam Hayward, but there were higher graded guys if you wanted to do it. I personally think they should have went one more wide receiver just to kind of add a little bit more depth, because Quez Watkins, that dude's useless. I don't see him doing anything. And Van Jefferson, he's okay, but not as like a number 2 or 3 guy. He's more like a 4. Like, oh, he's on the team, I forgot. And you only realize it after he catches a touchdown, once every 8 games. And then you're like, hey, he's still there. So yeah, the Logan Lee pick, it adds depth. I'm sure he's a decent guy, played at Iowa, and they had a stout defense. But I think that was just more of a positional pick. And then the Ryan Watts, cornerback from Texas, I like him. He's kind of fitting the bill of how they're running their cornerbacks. Big 6'2", 6'3", 200-pounders that can really fly, who are able to contest with these big receivers. There's no small cornerbacks in our lot. Like I said, for sure, the first 4, I think, are day 1 starters out the gate in some form or fashion. Mason McCormick, the South Dakota State guy, he's definitely has the chance to start eventually if someone A, gets hurt or starts fucking up. And then the other 2, they'll make the team. They're going to be depth guys, but they have the ability to contribute for the most part, probably mostly on special teams. But other than that, they filled every need that they needed to. So I'm super excited. One of the best drafts they've had in a decent amount of time, and they're getting back to the old Steelers, the ground and pound, quarterback throw for maybe 200 yards, don't turn the ball over, control the clock, go down and score, let the defense do its thing. They're right in that mix of early Big Ben stages, and that's when we were winning Super Bowls. So I'm really excited for what's coming up in my eyes. What are your thoughts on our draft?
I mean, after your draft, I think Najee's draft stock for fantasy went up a little bit.
Yep.
I feel like he might be able to get back into that year 1, year 2 groove that he was in.
Now, I haven't read yet if they picked up his 5th year yet. I know they declined. I know they declined Justin's. I can't remember if they picked up Najee's. They have till the second, I believe, to do it.
I thought they did, but I could be mistaken. But
yeah,
I think they'd be smart too, just to see how this offensive line does, and give him another year with him.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would probably pick up his option because it's only going to be $8 million. And let's be honest, if he does really well behind this line this year, he's going to be wanting a higher check. And although, granted, I like Jaylen Warren and all that, he's not that big bruiser back that you still need. Yeah, he's a different change of pace back. Which, could you go find a back that would love to probably come into the situation? Sure, but why don't you just lock him up? I mean, lock him up for that extra year, and then if he's able to do 1-2 and do really well, then you can talk about paying him.
Mm-hmm. I like it. And it's not very often they get 4 draft picks in a row that are the exact fit and guys that you're looking for.
Like guys that are on the board and you're like,
yeah,
they fell to me, we got them.
Yeah. Well, it's also just more like fit the bill of the team.
Yeah.
Like Troy Fontenot, he's been a Steelers fan his whole life. Zach Frazier's right down the road at West Virginia, right in their backyard, and just a tough son of a bitch. Roman Wilson just fits the bill, played Michigan, fits that system, and is probably a gritty guy. And then Peyton Wilson. And again, I don't want to be that dude, but I just love these white linebackers, man. They are just gym rats who go out and don't give a shit about how their hair looks and what their suit they're wearing. They're like, I just want to play ball, because they kind of got something to prove, You got these other guys like Roquan Smith. They're fast guys, but they have that potential of being there. But we got guys like Herbig and Wilson. These guys that are drafted late who don't get a lot of love, I would say, and they got to go out and prove it. Same with T.J. Watt getting drafted number 30th overall.
He also gets to compete with Patrick Queen.
No, he'll start beside Patrick Queen.
But you still get to compete with him every day.
You do get to compete with him every day.
That's somebody good to learn from.
Yeah, and I like it because he's not being asked to jump in right away and call the defense. That's Patrick Queen's defense to call, but he's going to be right there beside him, and he just knows, hey, I got to control my side because this dude's going to handle his business. He's not left out on an island, which is going to be great.
It's going to be pretty scary for the Steelers to run any kind of beef formation.
Yeah.
Got a lot of beef now. Just good luck, everybody else.
And then on to your Broncos.
Ooh.
Great. With Penix being gone at 8, that was the one I would have liked us to get. Once he was gone, I would have rather us traded back. Or would have gone defense, picked up a defensive player that one day we could trade away to somebody else, or just Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, just to name a few.
Thanks for Chubb.
There you go. He got hurt, but he'll be okay. He'll be just fine. It's just gonna be hard. It's just gonna be hard being a Denver fan in the next few years. Because we don't really have room to do anything because we're still paying, Russ to be quarterback for them. You're welcome. I'm helping out everybody here.
Yep.
I'd like for Bo Nix to be the answer from seeing him play at Auburn and then seeing him go to Oregon. I didn't see anything on tape that was just like that was going to be our guy. In my opinion, if we were going to pay Russell Wilson that much money, we should have kept him around. Just ran him into the ground. Just use him because you're paying him. Don't just But no, we'll give him away. That's fine. I like that we got the receiver out of Oregon. If Bo Nix can get him the ball, that'll be great. I just thought that there were a bunch of other areas that we could have gone with that would have been a little bit better. I like Javonte. and I like it's Jaleel. I think Jaleel McLaughlin, our 2 running backs, and we drafted another running back. Why we did that, I don't know either.
Well, I think it goes that one because that's the Audric Estime, the Notre Dame guy. He's more of a power back, you know. He's 5'11", 220 something. McLaughlin and Williams are more of the, you know, they can catch out of the backfield. They're more speed oriented. This is more of a, hey, just give him the ball, let him run downhill, and just bust through. Kind of like, you know, Mark Ingram when he was with the Saints and Sean Payton loved him so much. You know, did they have other people as well to change a pace? Yeah, but they loved that ground and pound situation. So does he kind of bring that little feel? Sure, and I mean, to get him in the 5th round, that's not terrible.
It's not terrible. I kind of see what Sean Payton is doing, but it's essentially if you ordered that Super Bowl Saints team off of Wish.
Temu, the Temu Saints.
Yeah.
The Temu.
As you're getting, you know, you're trying to get Temu Drew Brees with Bo Nix, you know, Temu Michael Thomas with Cortland Sutton out there, and now you're getting Temu Mark Ingram. So it's hard for me to say we did good. It's hard for me to say that just because I wasn't high on Bo Nix. I would have been fine if we would have drafted him in the 2nd round, got somebody to impact us in the 1st.
Kind of hard without a 2nd round pick, though.
Yeah, but if we could have traded back, to let somebody come up and get.
Yeah,
I'm sure you got phone calls.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I know that the Steelers and Eagles were supposed in talks to like kind of trade up and do that, but I think those calls stopped once Penix got drafted because people were just like, we're going to have 5 to 6 quarterbacks taken within the top 10, so a lot of these good guys are going to fall. We don't need to call and trade. So really the Falcons pick kind of just screwed it up for y'all in the trade back market.
Yeah.
It was like when people started buying toilet paper during COVID.
Yeah.
They're just like, what? Are we going to run out of that?
You got to wipe.
We should go get it.
I mean, me personally, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I think Bo Nix will eventually be your starter, so that's good.
I would have rather us gone defense.
I get it. But defense isn't what's gonna win y'all the games. You gotta have someone that can put some points on the board. I don't believe that's Jared Stidham, and I think we definitely know it's not Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I just don't want to lose another game 70-10 or whatever we scored. I don't even remember.
But you have to remember though that defense
They scored 21, I think.
fixed itself after like midway through the season. And they were more of a top-ranked team, kind of like Chicago. So I think the defense is...
It just took us getting whooped for us to figure that out.
But for the most part, your main issue was just not putting up points, you know? So, I liked it because Bo Nix, he fits the type of quarterback that Sean Payton actually wants at Denver.
We gave away Judy for a bag of Skittles.
You got Skittles.
You did.
It was a half-eaten bag of Skittles.
Yeah.
We got a bag of Skittles.
But
it's more like those wet M&Ms you got.
It was the fun size bag of Skittles, which I don't understand. Why would you make a candy smaller and call it fun size? It's not fun to get less candy.
Maybe.
But that's a different one.
But yeah, like I said, I think Bo Nix will eventually be your starter, and then you grab his number 1 wide receiver, so there's some familiarity there. Now, does Troy Franklin got to put on a little poundage? I mean, he's 6'2", 176. Yeah, throw on a little bit of weight.
I'd say so.
But these strength and conditioning coaches really know how to make that happen, so I think that's good. And like I said, I like the Estime pick, you know, because it gives you that power back situation. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, are you guys going to be last in the division?
Yes.
Probably.
Depending on Oakland's quarterback play.
Raiders.
The Raiders, yeah, sorry.
They might as well go back to Oakland.
They are what they are. They are what they are. And
we'll be a top 3. We'll be a top 3 pick next year.
Ooh, really? Okay. Do you guys have that pick?
Yeah,
I'm just curious. I can't remember if you got that pick or not.
I've already seen like 4 or 5 mock drafts that have Denver going 2, 3, 3, and 2. Because Carolina exists, so they're
That's
gonna,
true.
Yeah, but I mean, they added a few things
They flip-flop with New England
and they're still
Carolina.
in the South, so it's possible that they could, you know, win more games, just enough. And then you guys grab Shedeur Sanders, and then you're good to go.
I mean, that's how it sounds good.
I mean, I was indifferent about y'all's draft. Y'all know, I was high on Bo Nix in the way where I think in a couple years, I think once he's developed, he'll be good. But I don't think he's going to be a starter right away.
He's 24 years old.
I know, but that's his issue is that he's on the older end for a rookie.
If it wasn't for Brandon Weeden, the two oldest quarterbacks would
Was he
have been
27 when he got drafted?
29.
29.
Yeah, he was
When he played what?
older.
He had one contract, and that's all he played, I think, for Cleveland, right?
Yeah,
He
that's
went to
pretty much
Cleveland.
it.
Didn't he back up at Dallas for a little while?
Yeah,
Probably.
he did.
He probably was around. Vinny Testaverde, but just started his career later.
But yeah, I was just indifferent. I mean, I think Bo Nix will be all right down the road, but the fact that y'all don't have anybody there for him to learn behind is.
You got the goat of quarterback rooms right
He was
now.
a Texan too.
Was he? Jesus.
Yeah,
he was a little-
and he was a Titan. For
He was a real
20
Josh McCown,
seconds.
wasn't he? Just bounced around.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Josh McCown's probably got a jersey for most every team.
Him and Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yep. Gotta love old Ryan.
Yeah. And then ours, I was the only pick that the Chop Robinson one. A lot of people gave us flag for. I wasn't completely upset with it. I wasn't. There were other options I would have liked better. I understand why they did it because he was athletic. You know, I don't think they're going to necessarily use him as a traditional defensive end. I think they're going to use him where they move him around, kind of like what we did with Van Ginkel last year, where he's going to be like a stand-up linebacker that's going to move around, and then they'll use him in tandem with Phillips and Chubb. So, I mean, he ran, the second fastest 40 time for defensive ends at like a 4.4?
4.48.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's pretty quick for a big guy.
Yeah.
He was listed as the most athletic defensive end, I believe. But, I mean...
He tested very well.
He tested well, and that's why I said, I was like, I mean, we were late. I think they really wanted him, but they didn't think he was going to make it to him in the second round, which is... He might not have, so
Sure.
what entirely
No, he
reaching.
definitely wasn't
And
gonna
I
make
think
it
the
to the
offensive tackle they wanted was already taken because we ended up taking Patrick Paul in the second round, which he was up there. He had the second longest arms. He's a big body. I think he's 6'8",
6'8".
340, 350.
331.
Yeah, I mean, and he's 6'8", and he had the second longest arm. So we'll see how he does. I don't think he missed a start in the last 2 years, I think is what they said during the draft. So availability is the best ability.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Jalen Wright was the interesting one, like us jumping up and trading picks to get him. I mean, I understand why we went running back. Not completely upset that it was with him, but I don't think we needed to trade up to get him. Unless there was words through the wire, amongst the draft rooms that somebody had interest in him and they wanted him, so they went ahead and traded up to get him.
My thing is just.
But there was other running backs you could have went for.
Yeah, and I mean,
it
it wasn't like running backs were flying off the board. I mean,
they
don't get me
weren't.
wrong, round 3 and 2, you had a couple go, but
It wasn't until like the fifth round.
I mean, the
where a lot
first
of them
running
went.
back didn't go until midway through the second round with the Panthers, of all people.
Yeah.
And then the next pick wasn't until the third round. So,
Yeah, I didn't that one, but the next one was my favorite pick. Well, we talked about this earlier. Mohamed Kamara from Colorado State. I think he'll be a impact player that a lot of people won't expect.
I agree.
So I'm excited to see him play, or where we'll move him at.
Plus, you get some depth at the position
Oh, yeah.
where you just got riddled
Yeah,
with injuries
I mean,
that really
three-
screwed you guys over.
3 seasoning injuries at the defensive end spot, and we ended up losing one of them in free agency, which we were going to be able to sign Van Ginkel. He had a good year. He was going to want money. We weren't going to be able to pay him. So we just, moved on from him. It is what it is. I loved him. He was one of my favorite players. He was a workhorse. Did what you asked. Didn't ask any questions. Another white linebacker.
I don't want to say it, but
And then
we're all thinking it.
Malik Washington, I think, was our best value pick. Getting him in the 6th, and he was projected to be a second-round wide receiver taken.
Yeah.
So Patrick McMorris, I mean, I didn't know much about him, read up on him. Apparently he's one of those guys that plays a lot of defense. He pretty much, and just the defensive back in general, not necessarily a set safety, moves around a lot. We'll see how he works with Cam Smith because, there has been talks that he's been doing well in the offseason, our rookie from last year, and they were high on him, but apparently they didn't. We never used him last year, so we'll see. And then, Taj Washington, I think he'll be more of a special teams player. I don't think he'll fit into our wide receiver room. If he wants to make the roster, probably gonna have to do it as a
tough wide receiver room to get in front of.
It really
So
is. I think Malik Washington will will get in, maybe as the number 3 or number 4, but we do have some,
I think
we got Big E from last year and the year before.
Malik will outplay
Oh, yeah.
Barrios for sure.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. Barrios is, and that's why I said if Washington's going to make it, he's going to have to try to beat Barrios at his return man. Because Barrios pretty much got that locked up, I think.
I personally think it's just more like he's just going to have to do work on special teams as like a gunner.
running down as a gunner. Yeah, that's
the only way.
He was just, I think that pick was more of a, he was kind of best available, and that's what they went with. I mean, I think at that point, most of the offensive linemen were gone, but we did sign some decent ones, some undrafted free agents. The guy out of Ohio State, they had him ranked as like the 5th or 6th best guard in the draft, but he went undrafted. So we'll see. I think he had some off the field issues. He's from Ohio State, so it doesn't surprise me. We'll see if they can get that straightened up, but overall, I wouldn't say we had an A, but I would give us a solid B.
Yeah, I'd give you a B.
So I think like I said, the Kamara one, I'm excited to see him more than any of the others.
Possibly B- for me, just because of the trade up for running back.
Yeah. If it wasn't for the trade up for right, if we would have just waited and ended up getting
I also think the reach for Paul, you probably could have gotten him later on. I don't think tackles were jumping off the board.
Well, they had him projected to go like in the 50s.
I mean,
His overall ranks 130.
yeah, his overall ranks 132. He was the 18th best tackle. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, you guys didn't have a 3rd round pick, so maybe it was like, do we got to do it to get there?
Because all the tackles that went off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that was it, but still, I think a reach there. I love the Kamara pick and the Washington pick. You re-got your values back in. So, but yeah, the trade up
Is
for
what- yeah, that's
Jalen
what-
Wright is the one that doesn't
yeah.
make sense. So that's what brought me
That
more
one didn't
down
make
to
sense
like
to
a B- grade.
But I think for the 2 players I'm most excited to watch would be Robinson and Kamara at defensive end.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see them. For one, it brings depth. Robinson's got the athleticism. Kamara, I think, is just going to be a beast. I mean, I think he's going to be, I don't want to say he's going to be the steal of the draft, but he's going to be steal for us in this draft, I think. Out of all the picks we got, I think he might be that player that makes an impact right off the
It's
bat.
as long as you give him meaningful snaps.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that they do on defense. I think with the people that we're bringing in, we can have fresh bodies rushing the quarterback pretty consistently instead of having the same guys. Don't get me wrong, Phillips and Chubb did amazing last year.
Yeah.
But I think if you keep them fresh, they'll make more of an impact. Now, Chubb, it's kind of hard to take him off the field because he's such an impact in the run game and the pass game. Phillips more so in the pass game than the run game.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think Kamara is going to be, I think he's going to be more equivalent to Chubb than any of the others, where I think Phillips and Robinson are going to be those, like, 3rd and long, put him in to get to the quarterback guys.
Yeah, I can see that. Like I
So-
said, it's just if you give him meaningful snaps and it's worth it, but the only problem is he's going to be behind a 1st round pick that plays the same position.
Same position,
And
yeah.
you got 2 Pro Bowlers or
But I think
potential
that's
Pro
what's gonna-
Bowlers playing said position.
I think that's what's going to push him, though, is because he's playing behind a 1st round.
It'll definitely get.
I think he's got a chip.
Well, it's definitely going to be getting
impact.
pushed, but also the other thing is you got to deal with Jalen Phillips' injury history. You know he's going to get injured. It's just a matter of when.
Sure.
Well,
And
he's
then,
bulked up a little bit. I've seen some of his off-season pictures.
but then
and
also,
he's
I don't
well
know
set.
Chubb's contract situation. Like how
We
many
signed
years?
him last year to 4 years, I think.
Was it 4 years?
Yes, so we have him for a couple more years.
Yeah.
I wish we would have went interior defensive line, at least one.
Yeah, that
was my. But
concern.
we did pull in some guys in the offseason because we got
Yeah, like you
Lawrence
guys
from
could have probably
Dallas,
went
I think,
like
or something. I can't remember his
Newton,
name.
that Johnny Newton
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Illinois. Like
Well, I
you
thought they were
probably
gonna
could
do
have
that.
grabbed him.
like 1st and 2nd round. I said this to some of the other Miami fans. I was like, I wouldn't be upset if we went D line with our first 2 picks.
No, you went past. You got pass rush.
We did.
That's what you got.
And that was just more of a like, hey, we were being injured and not having the depth really
Yeah.
screwed us, so we definitely need this. So it's like I get that.
You took more offensive players than I would have liked you to take.
Yeah,
to have
and,
taken.
and I said that earlier when we were talking before we started. Like, one last wide receiver and another O line or D lineman, and I would have been
Yeah.
like that. Taj Washington, now granted, he was the 7th round. Don't get me wrong, and I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't get rid of Malik Washington because I think he was a value pick.
Yeah.
in the 6th.
Well, what also killed you guys in the 2nd round was just D tackles were going off the board like it was going out of
It
style.
was they were.
Like Aurora, Newton, Sweat, and Fisk, 4 D tackles gone in 5 picks. And then you had a couple people, Mason Smith, Chris Jenkins taken right before. So yeah, and then Michael Hall Jr. So basically, all the people you wanted or could have had a shot at wasn't really worth it. So
But we picked up a lot of undrafted. I mean, everybody picks up a lot of undrafted. We picked up
Bring 'em
a
in
couple
to
offensive
try.
linemen,
yeah,
couple safeties.
but
D-line.
I'm with you on that. I feel like what you probably could have done, you probably could have even traded back and grabbed yourself a D tackle. You know, traded back with someone, gain an extra like second round pick. Then you could have doubled up on your edge guys or grabbed someone a little higher. That's about the only thing I could think of. Like, Chop was drafted where he needed to be drafted, but it was also that first rounder you want to be a starter immediately. And
yeah, maybe they
do
have
I
high
think
hopes.
he's going to start? No.
Who?
Chop.
Yeah, I don't think he'll start with it. I think he'll get rotations for sure.
He'll get rotations,
But I don't
but
think he's
you
gonna be
want that
a
first
starter.
rounder to receive
To be fair-
meaningful snaps the whole way through. So I feel like you needed a D tackle more. So you could have easily traded back into the end of the first round and grabbed a D tackle, garner some extra picks, and then you could have really went to work. I think they screwed up there.
Well, we did
with
sign two defensive tackles in the offseason, and I think they're high on them. Plus, we still have Zach Sealer, who's a great defensive tackle. I think he got overshadowed with Wilkinson being there.
yeah.
So, but we picked up Benito Jones and Gallimore from, I think he played for Dallas. And we signed, they both were 1 year deals, so we'll see how they do.
Maybe,
So-
like I said though, that losing Christian Wilkins so
Oh, yeah,
big.
and we knew we weren't going to be able to.
That I feel like you probably could have, instead of grabbing for more of a depth, you could have grabbed a starter.
And we
In
got
my eyes,
Jonathan-
with a first round pick.
Jonathan Harris also.
Yeah, but with me, like when it's a first round pick, you want a starter.
Brandon picked up a
Unless,
lot of-
it's like Denver where it's like, will Bo Nix start? He will, but not right away just because he's learning the system, so Jared Sims is going to start. But outside of the quarterback spot, when you're drafting somebody, you're drafting someone in that first round to start
Ricky
immediately. And it's just he's behind two great players. So he'll get meaningful snaps, but I feel like you could have grabbed someone later on like Kamara
Yeah.
who could have filled that void, and you could have got you a starting D tackle, gain some extra picks by, sending yourself down. Because granted, you guys are in the same division. I'm sure Buffalo would have loved a little quick call. Like, hey, 21's available. You come on back and let's talk. Let's see what we can get going. And they grab someone like Brian Thomas Jr. ahead of Jacksonville at 23. I would really, that would have been a smart move in my eyes. But again, that's if they were wanting to do that. But unfortunately, they wanted to trade back and back
I
and
wanted
back.
to trade
So-
back with a team that.
But it
always
sounded like
knocks out the playoffs.
Kansas City was looking for somebody, so could have given them a little shout too, and been like, "Yeah, hey, bring it in. Let's see what you got, and we'll
Yeah,
make some
Muhammad's
moves."
he's not a huge body. I mean, 6'1", 250.
No, you can move him. You got a lot of movement ability to move those guys across.
Yeah.
In pass rushing situations, but
I think that's what they're focusing on.
None of them,
defense.
none of them being big. None of them being necessarily big bodies. Kind of is concerning.
It's more of I think they're leaning more towards pass rush.
Yeah, and I get
you
that, but
got
you
it.
know what?
Yeah, and I think we
these
do
teams
that.
are going to run the ball too, so you need a good 3 technique that's going to be able to clog some holes and all that, and rush the pass from up the middle. Because you could rush the ends all you want. All the quarterback's got to do is take 2 steps up into the pocket, and guess what? He's still fine.
I think all the linebackers we picked up in free agency are known more for their run stop abilities and not their pass rush abilities. Because you got Brooks, Shaquille Barrett. Well, Barrett does a little bit of both.
They're going to need to be.
But
they're gonna need to be.
I think that's going to be our scheme, and I think it might surprise people. With last year, I think our pass rush was better than a lot of people gave credit for.
Well, again, that's kind of going back to the point. It's like your pass rush was good. You just got injured.
Yeah, we
so
just got injured. Yeah.
your need to fill was more
Depth.
interior in the first round, is all I'm saying. That's why trading back and grabbing a D tackle with like pick 30, 31.
I like us going the depth because D tackle, if you have a big body, they can stop the run. But getting a good edge rusher in today's NFL is where it's all about.
But my
You should
thing,
know
is,
that
but
as
my,
Steelers
but my
fan.
thing is, you have 2 good edge rushers. That's,
Yeah, but what
that's
happens when
the
they get
killer.
hurt? What happens with Pittsburgh when Watt gets hurt?
You might.
No, I understand that, but and so you need depth.
What
but
happened
you
with
don't.
you guys when Chubb left?
But I'll put it to you like this: you know who our depth people
I know
are.
what you're talking
I'll put it to you this: our depth people were Highsmith, 2nd round pick; Herbig, 4th round pick; Golden, I want to say he was like a 5th round pick, not a 1st round
Marcus.
pick for backup. That's why I'm like, if you want to grab depth, perfectly fine. I love the pick for depth, but depth shouldn't be in a 1st round pick situation.
You might have also been able to still get your depth. You might have been able to trade back maybe to 20, 24, 25, 26, still get Chop, gain some picks, move up, take your defensive tackle in the early
I wasn't super excited about it, but I wasn't like detrimental.
No,
I also don't know who's picking up the phone and calling for 21.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I can think of is maybe
If it was somebody who's wanted a receiver that was available,
or,
still,
you
'cause there was
know,
a few still left.
because if someone was really just for a cornerback, because, I mean, Quinyon Mitchell dropped all the Eagles at 22, it's like, hey, you want to get up here real quick at 21 and grab the number 1 corner.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I would have loved to have been in the draft room to see if they were making calls, say, like, hey, look, I'm cool with trading down if you want to trade down, but...
I mean, I think the Chop pick was more of a, if once Chubb's contract is up and they want to move on from him, then we'll have Phillips in him. No, they'll have to re-sign Phillips, obviously.
So he's the Michael Penix of defensive ends.
Probably,
And again,
he's probably younger.
Yeah, so
And it's also
that's just like,
and it's also the same thing that I don't know if they're necessarily going to use him as a defensive end. They could move him with his size and speed to an outside linebacker like Van Ginkel used to do. And occasionally you have 3 rushers when you have Phillips, him.
don't get
and
me
Joe on the
wrong.
field.
Could I see all 3 of them being on the field at the same time? Yeah, you bet your ass.
Yeah,
But
100%.
those plays are few and far between. When you rather have, it also depends on what defense you're going to be playing. But
Yeah,
if you're
we'll
doing
see.
a 4-3, he's not going to do you any good when he's getting double teamed by a guard and a center that's just going to mull him over. Your speed can only take you so far. You got to have power
I
as
don't
well.
think you can go. I don't think you can go with 3-4. I don't think Zeeler will be a good enough, is big enough to be a nose guard.
No, he's
Yeah,
not. That's
he's
why I think 4-3 is more necessary. Now, granted,
But if they go 4-3, they'll just move. I think they'd move Chubb inside and then have Phillips and Robinson outside. Because Chubb's the bigger body.
yeah, I
He
can
can,
see
if he gets
that.
the jump,
Yeah.
he can win against a guard.
Yeah, but I guess
that would
it's
be
more.
That's what I would see as Sealer and Chubb.
Which would
in
make
those
sense. It
situations.
makes sense out of what you got available.
Yeah.
But then it's also like, is that utilizing him to the best of his abilities?
Well, if the guys on the ends get the rush on the outside like they're designed to do, and you have a one-on-one with a potential one-on-one with Chubb and a guard,
Chubb won't get one-on-one with a guard. I can promise you that.
Sealer got a lot of sacks last year as an interior defensive
They
lineman.
rather have Sealer one-on-one
Yeah, so did Wilkins. I mean, both of them.
than.
I think both of we talked about this. I think both of them had double digits. It was like the first time 2 interior defensive line teammates had double-digit sacks.
Yeah, but like I'm saying though, that's
was
because Wilkins was definitely garnering more double teams. So
Oh, yeah.
they rather have Zeitler one-on-one than Chubb one-on-one. So Chubb's going to definitely, if he's inside, he's getting double teamed for the most part, or he's at least getting chipped.
And I think it's more of a we're preparing for the division because we do have a running quarterback that tends to kill us a lot with Allen. So they're like, let's just go speed on the D end, and he might even be a spy on Allen for like the whole game.
Yeah, but now you got to contend with Rodgers now too. You know, if
He's not going anywhere fast.
I'm not talking about him running, but I'm talking about you definitely want him to pass. Because I mean, the Jets sure.
We'll see if he can make it past the
fix
first
that
drive of
O-line.
the first game of the season.
Yeah. We'll
If he can make it past that, then the bar's set pretty high for Jet fans.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really got to worry about the Patriots, so that's solid at least.